Hello, wonderful wizard of adventure. I have for you today our very first GM template, GM cheat sheet, and this will help you generate Western 5-room dungeons. And I'll just this video is just to quickly walk you through the sections of this template, so then you can understand how to use it. And you don't have to use the dice, but they're all based on D12 tables, or you can just pick from the tables based on anything that calls out to you. And before I get into the template, just a quick comment. I'm creating a campaign right now, or plotting out prepping a campaign for Old School Essentials. That is Sword and Sorcery sandbox campaign plus hex crawl plus story path along the lines of the adventure building workshop. And I was thinking to myself, well, it's a Sword and Sorcery campaign. How can I employ this Western template into it? And I realized, well, I can just mash things up. So I could have like a frontier milieu, or I could grab elements from this template to make Western types of 5-room dungeons to keep things interesting, or Western influenced encounters. So for example, if you're running a science fiction campaign, you could use this template to give aspects of it sometimes a Western feel. Maybe there's frontier worlds or whatnot. So this is, even if you're not GMing a Western RPG right now, I think this could be useful for your campaign regardless of genre. So let's get into the template. There are 3 pieces of meta information I like to have for my 5-room dungeons before I actually start building out the rooms. That is the feature location, so a really interesting place for that adventure to take place. The feature creature, which would be the villain or the primary obstacle of your 5-room dungeon for room 4. And then your feature treasure, the lure that gets the players bullying through all of the obstacles and the challenges of your 5-room dungeon, that gets them testing their mettle and saying, yeah, we really want this, we'll persevere. And so that's what the template starts off with. So some random feature creatures that you can use for your villains and stage bosses, some period-specific names, basically 1800s North American inspired. And then we have our feature location section. So just roll a d12 or pick what you like. I like the train. That would be a cool place to put an adventure in. Maybe you're running Eberron, and this is perfect. Now you can make a Western RPG meets Eberron type of 5-room dungeon. And then we have our feature treasures. So this is what's in room 5. This is the great lure, the great reward for the players. And then we've also added a couple of other pieces of meta information before we get into room generation. The first is feature conflicts. So these could actually be turned into campaign ideas. These could be turned into larger plot sequences so that you could string a number of 5-room dungeons together and have a plot arc. And so that's what this table is for. Then we also have knowledge table, and so you could sprinkle rumors throughout your game through various mechanisms and have the players learn and be drawn and attracted to your 5-room adventure through this table. So I call this a knowledge table, but this is basically a table of hooks to get your players interested in your 5-room dungeon. Then we get into room generation. So room 1, we have D12 entrances and D12 guardians, so you can take your pick or use both to create an entrance and guardian in your room 1. We have role-playing and puzzle table here for room 2. Room 3 is all about testing the character's mettle before the grand finale encounter, room 4. And so we have a bunch of trick ideas and a bunch of setback ideas, all framed within the Western genre. And then we come to room 4. And then in room 4, our climactic battle, I have 2 pieces of information I like to add to make my combats always interesting. The first is what I call a combat scape, which is an interesting combat environment. So maybe it's atop a train or inside the saloon or what have you. And so there's D12 ideas here for you to create different cool combat locations every time. Then the second piece of information is something unexpected, a twist in the combat. Something that challenges the players in new ways, so they can't just use their standard operating procedures, their standard combat tactics every time. Get players thinking and on their toes. So we have D12 ideas for that. And then we have our final room, reward and revelation. So we have our D12 treasures here for you to either stock in room 5, or you could also use this table for ideas on treasures that you sprinkle in throughout the other encounters. You would also presumably bring in your featured treasure into room 5 as well, and then these would be accents or additional things that you would add to room 5. And then we have our plot twists, which is my form of revelation for this template. And so these are things that keep the adventure going, or that get the players that heightened emotional reaction moment to make your 5-room dungeon memorable, the shocker. And so Yeah, and so that's the template. So you create your meta information about the dungeon first, just to get your brain going and inspired and kind of get it fixed into a certain kind of place and certain kind of conflict. Then you use the room generators to create and flesh out each of the locations, your rooms in your 5-room dungeon. I wanted to just thank Jesse for doing an awesome job in writing this template, and thank you, Craig, for doing a fantastic job in designing and laying out the template here. So GMs, that's the template here for creating 5-room dungeons for Western style encounters and adventures. I hope you find this useful. Feedback is always welcome, and we'll see you in the community. Bye-bye.